We choose to
This
go to the
country
moon.
is at war.
I have a dream.
In the spirit of Halloween, here are some of the scariest real-life stories submitted by Reddit users. So, I live in Eastern Oregon, and my mom lives in Western Oregon. I went to visit her for the summer, and she's very outdoorsy, so we decided to take the 1-hour drive from her city to the coast. We ended up at this free campsite at the top of this hill, huge foothills of the coastline mountains, about a 25-minute drive from the top, where the campsite is, to the bottom, where the main road was, and we were the only campers there. We relaxed for the rest of the day, made food, etc. A truck full of men drive up the hill and talk with my mom. I don't know what about, wasn't suspicious at the time, and then they leave us. Fast forward to the middle of the night. I wake up to my mom sitting straight up in the tent. I wake easily, so I heard her gasp and it woke me. As soon as she saw I was awake, she put her hand over her mouth, because I was starting to ask her what's wrong. It was dead silent, and all of a sudden, you hear footsteps right beside the tent. The little flap that covers the zipper was even moving. Thankfully, my mom has quick wits and said very loudly, "Kenny, grab the gun." Kenny is my dad, although that doesn't matter, and mind you, he was not there, just us girls, like I previously said. They left. No harm was done. Thank Lord for my mama. When I was really little, my parents would let me stay up late on the weekends and watch TV until I fell asleep. I really loved these times, and I would stay up later than anybody else, just because I could. Well, one night, I was almost asleep on the couch when I heard a noise on our front porch. It was the sound of our old-fashioned porch swing moving back and forth. I was a little scared, so I crept towards the bay windows of my living room and peeked out towards the porch. Sitting on my front porch swing was an older woman, probably in her 50s, wearing nothing but a nightgown covered in blood and holding a huge kitchen knife. I flipped out immediately and ran screaming into my parents' room, but was too terrified to form words. My parents saw that I was upset, but when I was finally able to tell them what I saw, my dad got really angry and told me it was just a dream and to go back to bed. I refused and kept crying and screaming until he had enough and snatched my arm and dragged me towards the front door to prove that nothing was there. I kicked and screamed all the way, trying to make him stop, but he kept pulling me. Finally, we got to the door. He unlocked it, swung it open, and said, "See, there's nothing that..." To this day, I have never seen the look of fear and shock that was on his face when that woman turned and stared at both of us, and slowly stood up with the knife. My dad slammed the door shut and got my mom to call the police, while he went and got his gun. He went back to the door with a 12 gauge and cracked the door open enough to stick the barrel out. He asked her what she was doing, and she said, "Somebody killed my husband, but it wasn't me." My dad told her the police were coming, and she freaked out, grabbed the knife, and walked away. The police found her 15 minutes later, trying to break into one of our neighbours' houses. I never slept in the living room again. When I was a senior in high school, a bunch of my friends and I used to drive into the hills to drink and get away from our parents. I was the DD one night, designated driver, and drove back 4 of my friends. 2 of the girls were really drunk and started puking, so we pulled over in a park. Both of the girls started puking outside my car doors. Then, this pickup rolled up behind us and had its high beams on us. I thought it was the cops and was just waiting for them to bust us, but the person in the car just stayed there. Eventually, we closed the doors and drove away. The pickup followed us. I started driving faster, and through a neighborhood I knew really well, taking every turn and starting to speed up. But the pickup kept following us. Eventually, my friends needed to puke again, and we pulled over. The pickup stopped behind us, and again, just kept its lights on us. I looked through my rearview mirror, and saw an older white guy with a beard. He started reaching for something in his glove compartment. At that point, I freaked out and told my friends to pull my other friends in the car, and floored it. We took a couple of turns and lost the guy. We stayed in a driveway of a random person for like 15 minutes, and then decided it was safe. We turned back onto the main street, and the pickup truck was waiting for us. I drove as fast as I could down the main street, and the pickup kept following us. Eventually, at the bottom of the hill, there was a massive accident, and a bunch of police cars and fire trucks. I started to slow down like I was going to pull over towards the police. The pickup overtook us, ran a red light in front of the cops, and I never saw him again. Some buddies and I went camping by the lake one night. About 1:30 AM, we heard some rustling in the bushes, and just figured it was a rabbit or something. Went over to check it out. Found nothing. About 1:35 AM, a huge pickup truck that was lifted and blaring out loud music drove by on a dirt road, really, really slowly, shining a huge police-grade spotlight on me and my friends. The truck burned out and kept driving. So, my best friend and I decided to drive up the road and see if we spot anything unusual about the truck. We get to the main road, and there are probably 7 or 8 cop cars, lights flashing, and 2 or 3 ambulances. We stop and turn around, and I swear, like a damn horror film, a cop pecks on my window with his flashlight out of nowhere. He asks what we're doing. We told him we were camping, and told him about the truck. He says, well, you boys might want to camp somewhere else. We'd had a triple homicide here, and haven't located the suspect. Friend says, so should we be scared? Like a damn idiot. And the cop says, and I quote, well, I'm not scared, but there are 20 officers here, and we all have guns. I said, yes sir, and tore off back down to the campsite. Best friend called the rest of our buddies, and told them to pack up the gear, not to ask questions, and that we had to get out. We literally threw 2 fully pitched tents in the back of one of our trucks, and got the hell out of there. The cops located the killer about 30 minutes later at our campsite. A few years ago, I was in a very dark place emotionally. I had these episodes where I just lay in bed wanting to die. Sometimes, when I was alone, I would verbalize my feelings, cry out loud, etc. It was really pathetic, but it made me feel better. Creepiest thing happened during one of these episodes. I was laying in my bed, in a pitch black room. My husband was away for work for a month, so I was feeling very alone and abandoned. Not at all the case at the time, but, like I said, dark place. So, I was saying things like, I wish I had someone to talk to, why am I always alone, etc. I heard something start to move in the corner of the room. Something big. A person, taking a few steps in place. Floor creaking, shuffling in some terror. The sound only stopped when I threw the blankets over my head and begged to be left alone. I have no idea what it was, and I don't ever want to know, but now I'm very careful what I wish for.
If you're looking for more amazing list time videos, please check out our friends over at FactPoint and subscribe while you're there.